Hey everyone, Carrie Beck here with Homeschool Coffee Break, where we help you stop the stress and stop the overwhelm so you can actually take a coffee break. And yum, yum, my mid-afternoon coffee break. Hey, today we are talking about the grade level myth. Yes. It makes me think about 150 years ago, one-room schoolhouse. And the one-room schoolhouse actually did so much good. I've actually heard more modern, younger people say, well, the reason we have grade levels now is it's such a better way to teach our kids. Well, not really. The one-room schoolhouse was fantastic. It is how people have learned for centuries. And so today I want to sort of talk about this myth of grade level and the pressure. Do you feel pressure sometimes? Are my kids on grade level? Am I doing the right thing? I see parents that are stressing out if there is this grade level that doesn't match their child's ability. We are going to talk about how kids can thrive when they are moving at their own pace. And I'm going to use some personal examples as well. You know, so many moms worry about those grade level expectations, which some professor probably made up. Why? They're comparing themselves to other homeschoolers that are following the conveyor belt model. They are comparing themselves to public school benchmarks and they're stressing out, or they are afraid their kids are going to fall behind. Will they really be prepared for life? And let's face it, who made the grade level checklist? You know, and y'all heard me say it before. Quit checking off the checklist, especially someone else's. Now, if you make your own checklist, that's what God's putting on your heart. That's a whole different story. So let's talk about some stories of how this is working and maybe some of the stresses. Before I dive in to this grade level myth, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel wherever you are listening to this and send it to one homeschool mom that's stressing out. I know this will encourage her. So subscribe and share it with one person. All right, let's talk about Sarah. Sarah's my little imaginary friend. She is 8 years old. Technically, she is in third grade. She loves to read. She reads chapter books that are 2 or 3 levels ahead in grade level. So she's reading on a fifth or sixth grade level. She can discuss themes of the book, vocabulary beyond her age. Sounds like my little granddaughter who's 6 years old and she just finished kindergarten and she's reading chapter books. It's awesome. But, we all have different strengths and weaknesses because poor little Sarah, my imaginary friend, she still struggles with subtraction and with borrowing. She hasn't yet even reached multiplication. This reminds me of my daughter, Leandre's mom, Gentry, who did not know her times tables until algebra. We actually pulled her off of math for a whole year in seventh grade, but we let her go at her own pace, and she's an adult, 35 years old, and doing okay. Now, from a parent's perspective, you see that grade level checklist says Sarah should be multiplying by now, and then you stress out, you panic, and you're like, oh no, Sarah is behind. And that's that overwhelm that we are trying to help you get rid of in Homeschool Coffee Break. Don't worry about it. Let them move along at their own pace. Now, if they're moving along at their own pace because they're lazy and they're not doing the work, that's a whole different story. That's character, and we can talk about that in a future episode. If they're doing it because they are truly struggling with how to do the concepts, then we need to slow down and realize it is more important for them to master a concept than to stay on little grade level checklists. You see, Sarah is thriving in reading and learning at her own pace in math. And so we need to see that kids can be ahead in one subject and not another. My daughter Gentry, definitely reading above her grade level. She loved to read, and she did okay, I guess. But she loved to read. Math? No, she still doesn't like math. So let's talk about individualized learning, how it works, and some tips that will help you put it into practice. You see, when we have individualized learning, some kids can dive really deep into certain topics. There are going to be fewer gaps in their learning, and it can build confidence and motivation if it's something that they are, especially if you're going in their interest as well. My friend had a son who was Hunter's age, and Hunter was 6, and they're all learning to read, but not Will. Will didn't learn to read till he was 10 or 12 years old. And once he did, he went flying past all the kids on his grade level. You see, Hunter could sort of be on that grade level. He didn't like to read at the time. He does now. That's another thing. So he moved along at whatever the grade level was, but Will didn't. His mom had to adapt his lessons for him. But once he took off, he skyrocketed. It reminds me of my second imaginary friend, James. James is 13 years old. His parents noticed, you know what, he sure loves tinkering with electronics and machines. When I was doing this, it made me think of my other granddaughters, Faith and Elizabeth, while we were babysitting this summer. They had all the little circuit boards and they were doing everything. And they would even bring it in the car when we were running an errand. I'm like, no. And a month later, I am still finding those little circuit pieces in my vehicle. Well, James's parents let him slow down in some of the traditional subjects and dive really deep into his science projects. This shift built tons of momentum. He became motivated to finish his other subjects faster so he could get over to his science time because he loved it. That was just who he was. It's how God had made him. He confidently began building circuits and even tutoring some of his friends in physics. You see, individualized learning, it turned apathy into excitement. He may not have liked his reading class, which Hunter didn't, but I could let him pursue science and he loved it. Same with James. Finish this and then you can get over to your science class. You see, there is a common myth that is prevalent in our society and around the world. If your child is not on grade level, they're behind. That's just not true. We all move along at our own pace. James with his science, Sarah with her reading and math, we all move along. Gentry with her math, um, and all of it. So how can we teach at our kids' own pace? You're like, I got 5 kids. How can I do this? Well, first of all, and this is coming out towards the beginning of the semester, you may already have some plans made. Assess your kids' strengths and weaknesses before starting. And if you didn't do this week, I would really encourage you to look at their strengths and weaknesses and write them down. In fact, I have got a free course, How to Simplify Your Homeschool. It talks about some goals, and that would be a good place to start. I will put a link to that course completely free in the show notes. So assess the strengths, pay attention to them. I didn't really need a test to know if my child knew the math concept because I was grading their papers every day. And more than likely you are too. And pray about it. Pray about it. God's going to show you their strengths and weaknesses and where He wants you to focus this year. So do a little assessment. Tip 2, adjust your lesson plans, adjust your curriculum to match their level. Will's mom did a lot of adapting in elementary school. He was not doing the same thing that a third grader would do in reading because he still didn't know how to read. I did some adapting with Gentry. She did not like math. So in 7th grade, we just said, okay, no more math. Now, that wasn't forever, but it's for 1 year. And you know what? She did perfectly fine. She finished her math courses. She even tutored her friends in math in college to help them get through their courses. Did she like math? No, she still didn't like it in college. So take an assessment, adjust, assess, adjust, then use some sort of flexible scheduling. You might need to repeat some lessons, or you may need to pause some lessons without guilt. Like I paused math without guilt. I'm like, we needed to change the attitude before we worried about whatever the next math lesson was. So that's why I took her off her math curriculum for a year. So you may need to repeat, and mastery is so much more important. It's better if when I was a public school teacher, you got your grade and you moved on. It didn't matter if you really learned it, you're just going to keep moving on. We need it. And homeschoolers, you can let your kids master concepts as well. And I think tip four, celebrate mastery, not just a grade level check it off completion. I love phonetic zoo. There's no grade levels in it. You must pass every spelling test twice with 100% before you go on. That means you've mastered it. Matthew C, same kind of thing. They are all about mastering it. There are no grade one, two, three, four, five. They got alpha, beta, gamma, and all this stuff. So kids don't really know if they're on grade level. And I know there's other math programs out there, same kinds of things. So it's okay if your kids learn faster than expected or slower than expected. We all have problems. I was not a reader growing up. I could do it, I could get a good grade in it, but I wasn't that good at it. I loved math. Now, did that make a difference? No. Was I behind? I'm sure vocabulary, I was always behind. I think I'm still behind in vocabulary. So it's okay. Your kids will still turn out to be adults who can take care of themselves. Don't worry about that grade level checklist. So assess your kids' strengths and weaknesses, adjust your lesson plans, be flexible and give them grace and patience, use flexible scheduling, and celebrate mastery. So I really want to encourage you to focus on your kids' growth, not comparing them to social media or to the public school or to the other homeschoolers in your area. Just know that individualized learning creates lifelong learners. It's better to slow down and learn it well than to just rush through it and not really learn anything. That's a schooling, not an education. What do you want for your kids? Do you want a schooling where you just check off the checklist, or do you want an education? I'm going to say it again, be flexible. Give yourself grace and patience. Give your kids grace and be patient. That is going to be a better outcome for you and for your kids, especially for your kids. You're stressing your kids, you're stressing yourself out if all you're doing is looking at all the grade level, all the rigidity from grade level. This can stop the stress. So, teaching at your own pace builds confidence, mastery, and joy in the learning. So, would you please leave a comment and let me know what is one subject area? You don't have to do this in all of them. Keep doing whatever you're doing. Pick one subject this area this week that you are going to assess your children and adjust the pacing to fit each of your children. And you need help on assessment. How to Simplify My Homeschool is a free course. It will be listed in the show notes as well. Hey, thanks for spending time with me. I am Carrie Beck with Homeschool Coffee Break. We'll talk to you next time.